enough drinking water, enough food, no electricity, no connectivity, and many of them are desperate.
यहाँ पर आसाम जल के नीचे डूब रहा है और महाराष्ट्र से यहाँ पर एमएलए एमपी को लेके आए हॉर्स पाइपलाइन पे रख के यहाँ पर हॉर्स राइडिंग चल रहा है। ये क्या असम सरकार है?
I think those people who are in Assam, they knows what is my priority.
Hello and welcome to We the People. With the brewing political crisis in Maharashtra, the focus is back on resort politics. A predictable charade of political parties moving the MLAs to resorts and hotels has begun. A dissident group of Shiv Sena MLAs led by Eknath Shinde are enjoying a 7-day all-expense-paid stay in Guwahati's 5-star Radisson Blu Hotel. They were also in a hotel in Surat last week where they were sequestered for 2 nights. Police protection, luxury buses, chartered planes, 5-star hotel accommodation, all of them are being provided to these rebel MLAs. Who is going to pay for this? This even as the Aam Aadmi on the ground in the flood-affected parts of the state can't access clean drinking water. Over 125 people have died in the state of Assam so far. People can't cremate or bury their dead in Silchar as all crematoriums are flooded. So, tonight on We the People, we're asking resort politics amidst a flood havoc in this Maha game of thrones at play, who pays? Joining us on We the People tonight, Deshrata Nigam, a lawyer, a political analyst who supports the RSS and the BJP. Kapil Madan, also a lawyer in the Supreme Court, but who supports the Congress. Senior journalists Madhavan Narayan and Aarti Jairath. And Akash Banerjee, political satirist and host of the Deshbhakt. Aarti Jairath, first, let me ask you, we're looking at these scenes and, you know, private jets, etc., 7 days, all expense paid for trip. Someone has to pay for this in the end, figuratively and literally. Who pays the price for this?
Obviously, the taxpayer. We, the people, we pay the price for this because, you know, I mean, it's obviously resort politics is a very expensive business. I mean, you know, chartering a flight all the way from Surat to Guwahati across the country, you can imagine how much it costs. And then, you know, so many MLAs hold up in a 5-star hotel. I mean, who's paying for them? Where does this money come from? You know, even if it's not state funded as such, and it's funded by a private, you know, a political party, you know, where has the political party got this money from? How does it make this kind of money to, you know, put these people up? You know, it's now become such a regular thing. Every time there's a Rajya Sabha poll, we see resort politics. Every time, you know, a government is in trouble in any state, we see resort politics. It's just become, you know, part of our whole political, you know, sort of setup and our ambience. And it's just getting more and more and more expensive every time. You know, it just pushes up the cost of politics and, you know, completely takes away from what government should be concentrating on, which is governance, which is providing amenities to people, providing development to people, making sure that they get health care, making sure they get proper education, you know, instead of which they're constantly involved in trying to shore up a government that's falling or in trying to ensure, you know, their candidate gets into the Rajya Sabha. I mean, it's just very sad that our politics is, you know, just reached this kind of low level now.
Well, this is a common phenomenon now. No one even raises an eyebrow. At one point of time, perhaps one did. But Madhavan Narayanan, let me ask you, it's a common phenomena, but is it a uniquely Indian phenomena? And I ask this, ironically, this whole resort politics, because it comes on a day when the Prime Minister just spoke of Indian democracy in Munich just about an hour ago.
Well, Sarah, first of all, let me joke a little bit about what is happening in Guwahati, although the floods are pretty grim. I'm thinking Radisson Blu's saga is going on for so long that I want to call it Hotel California. You can check out any time you like, but you never leave. And somebody pays the bill for it. But it's a good point to ask whether it's Indian or not. And I think it's not. It's typically Indian in many ways. one important point is that I keep saying India is an electoral democracy, but it's not a cultural democracy. What it means is that we have taken the bit of voting into a democratic culture, but we do not understand that democracy involves accountability at various levels. It basically means not only do you follow the law, you also follow the principle of accountability to the public. And you see, the National Herald case is being discussed. Now, it's essentially can be discussed as a private matter of the Congress party. But if the law enforcing authorities and political spokespersons describe the National Herald and the company with which it deals as public institutions, by the same logic, all the money spent in Guwahati or in any resort like this essentially involves a public accountability.
Correct.
Now, if you look at the Eknath Shinde camp, it's not even a political party yet, so it doesn't even have electoral bonds or any such source of revenue. So, which means it's coming from private pockets, and it begs the question, funding it and with what purpose? There must be a quid pro quo here.
Yeah.
Let me also add that electoral bonds have been in discussion earlier, and there is a lack of transparency in that. So even if a political party gets the money, we don't know who it gets from.
Correct.
And who's going to audit this? What kind of audit trail do we mention on this? NGO accounts are being audited, but political parties' spending is not visible to the public.
And they're not accountable to anyone. You have 9 ministers of the government in Maharashtra who are in this resort for the past for 7 days and 2 days before, so 9 days, and they all have ministries that they're supposed to be running. As of now, they're not sure if they're in the old party or going to be in a new party or where they're going to be, but they still hold those ministries. Well, Akash Banerjee, at least 5-star hotels get to benefit, and that seems to be an industry that will continue to not be affected by the ups and downs of our economy, by inflation clearly. But I just wanted to play out these visuals of the MLAs. Let me just pull this up. We have these MLAs in Assam, rebel Shiv Sena MLAs. They are celebrating the birthday of Narendra Bhondekar, an MLA from Bhandara, at this Guwahati hotel. Let's just listen in to that audio. I mean, should we even be laughing, crying? Like, how do you, the joke's on us, Akash Banerjee.
So obviously, the joke is definitely going to be on people, as was being discussed, that it's the taxpayer who's paying for these Gulfstream and Cessna jets that are crisscrossing the nation all through the night. You asked how regular is this? How much we have accepted politicians to do this? And I think we need to take a little bit of a corporate view, because at least politicians seem to be taking a corporate view. We are hearing rumors about 50 crores a pack at this point of time. If we take a corporate view, Sarah, just entertain me for 2 minutes here. Say, for example, there are people within NDTV who are not very happy with the way things are at NDTV. They think that it's a too negative channel, too many questions being asked. They want a more positive channel. And they break away from NDTV and create something called NDTV, for example. And they say, no, we are the real guys. Okay, they might get a lot of support also, rebel groups. We all like rebels somewhere down the line. But when it will become apparent that this NDTV rebel fraction is actually being sponsored by your rival channel, say Monkey Now, or for example, something like that, then people will begin to question, are these rebels really setting up a different channel? Are they challenging the authority of NDTV, or are they actually working as somebody else? And that is why, Sarah, we have something called the non-compete clause. If today you have to stop this tamasha of cake being cut in a state that is drowning, I think what you should do for politicians is to have a non-compete clause, not an anti-defection, but a non-compete clause. You want to quit politics, go into the Himalayas, but you can't join politics or another party for 5 years. Maybe that is when we'll stop seeing the charade that is playing out on the screens right now.
Well, like you said, we have anti-defection laws, you have devices like whips and votes not being held, secret ballots, but clearly no one seems to be able to trust their own legislators. And perhaps the question is, what does this say about us? A new law in Indian politics, every day we hit a new law. But let me bring in Deshrat and Nigam to pick up from where Akash Banerjee left off. Mr. Nigam, before flying to Assam with his flock on the 22nd of June, Mr. Shinde and a large number of these MLAs spent 2 nights in Surat, which is Gujarat, a BJP-ruled state. Now they're in Assam, also run by the BJP. A coincidence?
No, I don't think I will read too much into it. The fact is, these people were worried about the security and safety about themselves, and which is proving to be true with the kind of conduct we saw on the attack on the offices and the tearing down posters in Maharashtra, and so in Gujarat being a neighboring state. So probably they thought they go to a state where they will feel more safe. In the sense, it's not contiguous state as with Maharashtra.
And they feel more safe in the northeast.
In a place which is quite far away from Maharashtra. As of now, it's not a laughing matter. It's not a laughing matter.
The Association for Democratic Reforms, the ADR, has said that in all the defections since 2016, the BJP has been the biggest gainer. 44% of the 443 MLAs and MPs who have switched parties and then recontested the polls have gone to the BJP.
That speaks about the popularity of BJP. Why do you have to look at
all
negatively?
All the low standards, they accept anyone from, there's no commitment to ideology?
So let me tell you what happened, and let's give a contextual framework to the Maharashtra issue. The original mandate for governance was with BJP and Shiv Sena. The unethical immorality started from that place when Shiv Sena broke that allegiance and that Gathbandhan, as you call it. Now the equilibrium is being restored. This is in the context of Maharashtra. I'm not generalizing.
So you're willing to admit the BJP is behind this?
No. I'm not saying BJP is behind it, because BJP is still watching the game, what is happening. And BJP is in competitive politics like any other political party, and they will take advantage of the situation as and when they feel comfortable, which is, one should not shy away from that aspect. Now, secondly, I wish the TV channels were equally aggressive about discussing the issue when 6 BSP MLAs, joined Congress in Rajasthan.
We were.
All in one go.
But the fact still remains that the largest number, 44% of all the MLAs who switched over have gone to the BJP.
And the TMC, when the all Congress people went to the TMC.
But the fact still remains that the majority of them, this is a phenomena that is now normal, as Aarti Jarath has pointed out. The BJP is not the only party who does it, but the majority of MLAs have gone to the BJP.
Can you allow me to finish uninterrupted?
Go ahead, sir.
You can note down your questions and then put it.
Go ahead, sir.
Because the thought process gets disturbed. I thought I would get equal time as Akash Banerjee.
You are getting a lot of time.
So, no, I keep getting interrupted. That's what I don't like.
Well, sir, this is a debate. It is a discussion. You will get interrupted if you point out facts that may not be factually right. So please, let's not waste your time. This is a half-an-hour show, so go ahead, sir.
Therefore, note your questions and then ask. So let me again point out, when the entire issue started from that particular, backstabbing that happened in Maharashtra, and the MLAs are quite sensitive to the public opinion. When they realize that the top leadership has shaken hands with the Congress and NCP of the Shiv Sena, then there was a disconnect between voters. Voters couldn't shake hands with the voters and supporters of NCP and Congress. There was a disconnect. They were moving away from the all-encompassing philosophy of Hindutva, and the feedback they got, they waited for some time. Then they realized that there is a disconnect between the voters and the leadership of Shiv Sena. And being very sensitive to the public opinion, because they have to face elections after elections, this step was taken. This is an equilibrium being restored again. Yes, BJP, if finds a position very conducive, will obviously take advantage of a situation which is competitive politics.
Competitive politics, or you'll go to any lengths to stay in power? No place for ethics, principles?
Please let me tell you, our constitution and law have both constitutional morality and ethics intertwined in it. And that's what Supreme Court has also said. So what is being done under the Constitution. Please show me any evidence your channel has that BJP is directly involved, or they are spending money I am willing to accept, and I am going to criticize BJP right now.
Well, obviously, we don't have proof of that. Otherwise, it would not be happening. The BJP claims themselves that they are not involved. But then will these MLAs join the BJP?
Let me tell you, then the debate is entirely based on assumptions and conjectures. You will agree to that.
No, I won't.
No, because you said you don't have...
This has happened numerous times in the past, and every time you can't claim that because there's no proof. We already have a panelist who pointed out there's no way of knowing where the money comes from. Where does the political funding come from? Who is paying for this right now?
Let me tell you
Why are they in Assam? Why were they in Surat before?
Certainly not the state exchequer is paying. The state is not paying. It has to be a private money which is coming from...
But they feel safe only in Assam and Surat.
Yes, because they have a safety issue, and probably the Assam government or the BJP government, let's not shy away from that, can give them better security there. So let's not shy away from all those facts. But the fact remains, we are in a competitive politics and everybody has been indulging in it. And unless and until you show me some proof, and believe me, I take a very clear stand. Even if any party or to which even I favor has a proof against them, I am the first person to criticize.
Well, one point with you that I will agree on, unfortunately, the sad situation is that everybody is indulging in this. Kapil Madan, similar scenes witnessed ahead of the Rajya Sabha polls. We've seen this many a time in the past. Congress-ruled states too. Resort politics have occurred in Gujarat, Karnataka, Bihar, Haryana, UP, Rajasthan, Goa. They weren't devoid of it either ahead of the recent election. So nobody is really above blame here.
So, Sarah ji, I would like to wish to make an important point which I think everyone has missed. Now, we are undermining what is the role of central agencies like CBI and ED. Don't you think when a huge payment, the hotels and these expensive resorts are being booked, don't you think that these central agencies like ED and CBI, they should remain extra vigilant to ensure that there is no ill-gotten money that is being used to subserve the process as established under the Constitution? Don't you think that they should remain vigilant to ensure that there is no corruption money that is involved when, the alleged horse trading happens? So my take is this, that ultimately, any public officer, what is the ultimate object of any public officer? Ultimate object of any public officer is to serve people. It is to ensure that they remain committed, they remain faithful to the oath that they took towards the Constitution.
But the joke is on the public because nobody seems to do it across all parties.
That's very, very unfortunate, and I think as
okay, let me take this forward. Madhavan, Narayan, if you can respond, we've perhaps talked about solution. How come does this happen despite the anti-defection law? It's been in place since 1985. I think you have legislative devices like you have whips, you have votes that can't be held by secret ballots. Still, we see things like this, phenomena like this, continuing and actually getting worse. As Aarti points out, more and more money continues to be spent, and then Mr. Ratan comes on the show and says that, well, there's no proof to show who's behind this.
I think let's not talk proof here, Sarah, because I think this is a matter, not because there is the lack of evidence doesn't mean lack of truth. So we'll have to look at it from a point of view of circumstantial evidence, in which case Dev Fadnavis, for instance, in this case, is clearly reported to have met Eknath Shinde at well past midnight 2 years ago. So some of the facts are out there, and I trust that even if the masses of India do not look at the detail, a substantial part of urban educated Indians will understand that you don't need to put two and two together here.
And who stands to
gain? Evident. So, no, the gain is not the issue. There are two critical issues here. One is that anti-defection laws are in place, but there are loopholes within the law, such as 1/3 splitting away, which is being exploited. The other more critical issue is there is a case of browbeating candidates this way or that. I don't hold any brief for any one political party, but there are various kinds of persuasion. Mrs. Thackeray, Uddhav Thackeray is supposed to have phoned the wives of the MLAs lodged in Guwahati. So that kind of friendly persuasion works. At the same time, the officers have been roughed up in some cases. But let's face it, this is not sounding like a democracy. It's sounding like some kind of a feudal battle between, soldiers in the pre-democratic era. So is this what India deserves in the 21st century is what we need to be asking. More important is accountability at various levels. And it is very clear that horse trading is taking place. Otherwise, MLAs could be even in the age of Aadhaar and blockchain and all the kind of technologies. Even sitting in Guwahati, you can take a vote. These MLAs can say, we will not change our minds and this is my video recording. Let 46 MLAs say that on video. Now, that is not happening, which basically means that everybody is leaving room open for negotiation, which in plain speak is horse trading. So this is the public morality we need to be conscious of. I am fully conscious of the fact that popularity is not everything. That is why I keep saying electoral. I love the word populism increasingly because but populism of what kind is the thing? Even public people are asking for accountability of party money and asking for loyalty is also important. If it is indeed true, as Dr. Deshrath Nigam says, that the voters are upset with Shiv Sena, then
actually they should all stand for elections again.
Yeah, you can call for elections.
Yeah,
what is happening
call for
here
elections. Let these rebel MLAs stand for elections again.
Is that there are constitutional experts and Lok Sabha experts like Secretary Generals retired and serving can say various things. But the point is that the elephant in the room is the fungibility of MLAs across.
Okay. But talking about accountability, let's also turn, take a look at ourselves in the mirror. I'm not going to ask Aarti or Madhavan this. So, Akash Banerjee, to you, what is the role of the media in all of this? Where at one point of time, I think even our coverage was different. Maybe that's, Aarti says, it's such a normal phenomena anymore that it's no longer news.
So, I think the media also has to raise the difficult questions. The media doesn't raise the difficult questions. I mean, imagine so many days down, we are actually trying to debate who is involved, who's not involved. I mean, curious case of coincidences, and I'm sure the media needs to point out that what was the chief minister of Assam doing in the same hotel where these rebels landed up? Maybe he was taking stock of the flood situation. What was happening as far as the flights being going from here to Delhi to Vadodara? Incidentally, also the former chief minister of Maharashtra being in Vadodara. It's all coincidences. The people who are getting raided, it's all coincidences. The point is that I can agree that the media should be asking questions, but I'll go one step deeper. What even if media asks the questions? Beyond a certain point of time when I do these shows on YouTube, I do realize that beyond a certain point of time, it's just not okay to blame the media. Is because are people wanting to know the truth? Do people really are bothered? Are people boiling right now? Is that, 50 crores, is that what is being discussed? Sab chalta hai. It is okay. So let us also understand this is happening is because there is no outrage that is happening. Nobody is bothered. Sarah, you might be bothered. A few other people might be bothered that this is happening in a state. Out of all states that they could have gone into and done resort politics, they decide to go into a state that is sinking. Just look at the ethical optics of it. But do you think anybody is concerned? I don't think so. So beyond a certain point of time, I don't blame the media.
All right, I'm told we have someone joining us. One of the audience members wants to speak up from the Northeast, Anshumani Rajkhowa. Anshumani, go ahead. What's your comment, your question? And let's play up those visuals again, as Akash points out, of flood-affected Assam while the cake is being cut. Anshumani?
Yes. What I would like to say is currently when our state government is spending crores of rupees on the royal hospitality of the Maharashtrian MLAs, people in the same state dying, drowning, fighting each passing day without even the basic facilities of drinking water, shelter, food, electricity and whatnot. I guess that's the saddest part of the world's largest running democracy, where politicians' life and their royalty matters more than the people who actually make these governments and for whom this money should be actually used for.
All right. Thanks. Thank you, Anshumani, for joining us. With that, I'm down to a minute. So, quick last words, 30 seconds to you, Mr. Nigam, and then to Aarti Jarath, closing words.
See, let me correct Mr. Madhavan that 1/3 split was given up in 2003. Now that law has been made tougher by way of 10th schedule in making it 2/3. And that 2/3 is also that exception to disqualification is available for merger, nothing else. So, and it will be tested on the floor of the House. And if the Assembly wants a re-election will take place.
All
just
right.
merely because some people want it or not want it.
Aarti Jaran?
If the Assembly wants
it. I would tend to go along with what Akash said. Listen, at the end of the day, everything depends on what voters want and do, right? If voters indeed feel so strongly about what's going on, and it is a spectacle, there's no question about it. The only way politicians will learn is if voters reject them when elections come. It has started happening. We have seen in West Bengal last time, quite a few defectors were punished, they were not voted. We saw that happening in Maharashtra also in the assembly elections 3 years ago. Defectors were punished, they were not re-elected. This has to happen increasingly. The voice, the rejection has to come from the people. It's only then that politicians are going to wake up and take note, because laws, there are so many ways of circumventing the laws as we see. There is an anti-defection law, yet people defect. And, you're supposed to do a floor test, but numbers are being decided and counted in results.
All right.
That's not the way democracy is.
Sir, I would just make a
last... I'm completely out of time. Apologies. Thank you all for joining us. The story is not over. We'll do more shows on this because we certainly do care and we hope you do too. Thank you for joining us on We the People.